Good evening. Could you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
I'm Megan Avenbrock, but you can call me Megan.
And Megan, where do you live?
I live at 918 Spring Street in Queen City.
All right. And where is that located?
It's in Queen City County.
Do you know the defendant, Megan?
Yes, Josh Wallace used to be a boyfriend of mine, but we broke up. We broke up a few weeks before all of this happened.
Is the defendant in the courtroom today?
Yes, he's over there.
Could you please identify the defendant by an article of clothing?
He's wearing a red shirt.
Now, Megan, I'm going to ask you some questions. Sorry. Are you married, Megan?
No, I'm not, but I am currently seeing someone.
Do you live with family?
I used to live with my daughter.
What was family life like for you?
Well, being a mother was really my full-time job in my mind. I mean, I had another job at a hospital, but Tamara, or we all called her Tammy, she was everything. She was so smart and so just joyful all the time. And it's just really hard to even think about family life right now, honestly.
I'm going to ask you some questions about the events that happened on the 19th of July. I know these questions are going to be hard, but I need you to tell me exactly what happened as it happened. Okay, Megan? On July 19th, what were you doing that evening?
Well, I was kind of getting ready for bed around 9:30, and I was laying down, taking off my makeup, and then I started to go to sleep.
Were you able to sleep all night?
No. Around 2 a.m., I heard a crash at the window.
Were you able to determine what made the crash?
Yes, it was a firebomb in the middle of my bedroom.
What is a firebomb, Megan?
Well, I've never really seen one until this moment, just on TV, but it was a Coke bottle with, I guess, gas in it and a piece of cloth.
Objection,
that was lit.
speculation.
Response?
She's not saying exactly what, she's not saying that it's true that gasoline in it. She's just testifying as to her knowledge of what a firebomb to her is.
What was the statement she made?
She said she guesses that it's a glass bottle with gas in it in a rag. Not that it definitely had gas. This is what her idea of a firebomb is.
Okay, what's your take on that?
Your Honor, she said that she believed that there was gas inside the bottle. This is one of the pieces of evidence that the state is intending to use against the defendant, that gasoline was accessible to him to put into the bottle. To have her speculate into exactly what was inside the bottle at that time without any knowledge to that would be improper.
Yeah, let's limit it to what she knows or what her rationally based perception is. So you can ask the question again. If she either knows it or she has a rational basis for the answer, then it's permissible. If not, then move on.
Motion to strike.
Yes.
Megan, based upon your knowledge, what is a firebomb?
Well, from what I've seen on TV and in movies, it's a glass bottle with some sort of flammable liquid and a piece of cloth in it that's lit.
Where did the firebomb land in your home?
Well, it broke through my bedroom window and was right on my curtains, right where my bed used to be before I moved my room around.
What happened after it landed?
Well, it exploded and the fire started climbing up the walls. It was happening so fast, it was so frightening.
What did you do next?
Well, I ran to get Tammy out of her room, and she tends to lock her door at night. She's a teenager, and she just wanted that extra privacy since she lives with her mom, but her door was locked and I couldn't get it down, and I was pounding and yelling, trying to wake her up, and then I realized the best way to save her would be to run outside and get help as quickly as I could.
How did you get help?
Well, I ran outside and called 911 and then saw a passing police officer and I flagged him down.
What happened after you flagged down the officer?
Well, I told him that Tammy was still in the house and we tried to get her out, but we went around back and the flames were just too high and it was just impossible.
Did anyone else arrive on the scene?
Yes, some firefighters arrived eventually.
What was going through your mind at the time of the fire, Megan?
Objection relevance?
What is the relevance?
This particular, what's going through her mind at the time is relevant towards the defendant's guilt, because later in our case, we established that he was the only one texting, calling Megan. We have evidence to show that he was the last person to have threatened her, and she was the last person to scare, who was actually scared of she was actually scared of the defendant, because he's the actual one who posed a threat to her, and this helps go towards that particular piece of our evidence in that case.
Overruled.
Well, I mean, obviously I was terrified. It was a really scary ordeal, but all I could think of was, where was Josh at this time? I mean, he was probably right around the corner just lurking.
Who is Josh, Megan?
Josh is my ex-boyfriend.
What was your relationship like with Josh?
I mean, it was fine when we were together, but when we broke up, he just went kind of crazy. He was texting me all the time and calling. I was just really worried about it. He seemed very jealous and angry.
How did you know Josh was the one texting you?
Well, I mean, when we were in a relationship together, we texted, as most couples do, and I knew his phone number, and I knew that he hadn't changed his number, because he was still texting me the way he always did.
What did Josh say to you in those texts?
Well, the texts from July 19th were all pretty crazy, and he told me he wasn't going to call me or text me anymore, but then he kept texting me, and he was asking about my new boyfriend that I was seeing, and it was all kind of crazy.
Did he ask you to do anything that day?
Well, he asked me to put out a box with some of his important documents that he left at the house, his social security card, his birth certificate. I mean, I figured now that it's because he didn't want them to burn up.
Has he ever requested anything from your home since the breakup?
No, he's never asked for anything until that day.
Did he contact you again that night?
He did. He was calling me constantly, and at one point he left a voicemail on my phone.
How do you know that it was Josh who left the voicemail?
Well, again, it was from his number, and when I heard it, it was his voice, obviously.
What did that voicemail say?
It said, "This is some BS, and you better keep your head up."
Megan, if I showed you a diagram of your home, would you recognize it?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, we are showing the defense what has been previously marked as Exhibit 19. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Megan, what is that I just handed you?
It looks to be a diagram of my house.
Does it accurately represent your house?
I believe that it does.
Does it look as if it was materially altered in any way?
No, it's not.
Permission to offer Exhibit 19, that states Exhibit 19.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection, Exhibit 19 will be entered into evidence.
Permission to publish this to the jury?
Yes.
Megan, on that diagram, could you please show the jury which bedroom was yours?
This is my bedroom right here in the corner. It was bedroom number 1 as it's labeled here.
Thank you. Since the breakup between you and the defendant, have you made any changes to your home?
Well, since the breakup, I really just needed to get some of that baggage out of my life, and I decided to change my room around, get some feng shui going, just to kind of help me feel better about the whole thing.
What changes did you make?
Well, I moved my bed from right under the window that looked over my backyard to another corner where I thought it fit better.
Megan, you mentioned earlier the text with Josh, the defendant. Did anything concern you about those texts?
Well, he was saying that he wished God would take him off of this earth, and just more crazy statements like that. It was pretty frightening.
Who is On July 19th, who was the last person you had an argument with?
It was Josh Wallace. He was fighting with me all day.
Who was the last person to threaten you?
It was Josh Wallace when he sent me that voicemail saying to keep my head up.
Who were you scared of at the time of the fire?
I mean, it was Josh. I was even scared of him after the fire. I mean, he could have been around.
Who do you believe did this?
I know that it was
Objection, no
Josh.
proper opinion.
Response?
Your Honor, she's not saying, she's going through her own opinion and belief as to who she believes does this, who she was scared of. Again, she just testified, the defendant was the last person who had an argument with, the last person to fight with. So her fear of the defendant has been laid in foundation, as well as she can testify as to who she feels was out to harm her.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
She said she was asleep during the time of the fire. She has no rationally based perception to establish who did this crime.
She did say that.
Again, if I can rephrase the question and get the witness to re-answer, but the question
Sure.
was, who do you feel did this, not actually who actually did it.
I'm gonna
Your Honor.
I'm gonna sustain that objection.
Motion to strike.
Yes.
How has your life changed after this incident?
My life is never going to be the same again. I mean, I can't sleep anymore. I'm constantly terrified. And my life will never be as good as it was. I'll never have Tammy again.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes.
Megan, I'm very sorry for your loss, but I have to ask you a few questions. Specifically, I want to clarify the time frame surrounding the fire. Now, I want to start back on Friday the 17th. That day, you received some texts from Josh.
Yes, he was texting me that weekend.
And by the end of the day, he asked you, is it good?
Yes, he did.
But you didn't respond.
No, at that point, he was just being too crazy. It just wasn't even worth it.
I mean, he never texted you back after that on Friday evening.
No, he didn't.
Now, on the next day, Saturday the 18th, Josh never once called you.
I guess he didn't. He called me so much the next day, though, it's honestly hard to even separate it.
But on Saturday, he didn't call you once.
I guess he didn't.
And on Saturday, he didn't even text you once.
I don't remember any text messages, so.
But as you said, on Sunday, he did start to contact you again.
It was repetitive. It was over and over. I had to put my phone on silent because it was so annoying.
But you never thought to block Josh's number?
I mean, I don't know how to do that. I didn't even know you could do that anymore, but,
Well, you never thought to change your own phone number.
well, it was Sunday, so all the stores were closed. I don't even know how to do that, and that would have cost so much money.
Well, you didn't do any of these things, but you actually responded to him.
I mean, a couple times, I just wanted it to stop. I just wanted to appease him enough that he would just leave us alone.
You responded to him, allowing him to come to your house to pick up some things.
Yeah, I mean, he came to my house to pick up some stuff he didn't want to burn up when he set the house on fire later.
He also wanted to spend some time with his dog.
Yeah.
So around 8 o'clock, he arrived at your home.
I mean, I guess so. I was inside. I wasn't going to talk to him.
He picked up his belongings
I guess so.
and spent some time in the backyard with his dog.
I guess he did. He was probably scouting where to throw the bombs from.
And during this time, he texted you to come outside.
He did. It was just another one of those text messages that was frightening.
And you responded to it.
I guess I did.
And you told him that you weren't going to come outside.
Obviously not. I mean, he's been calling me all day. He's terrifying me.
But after you told him this, he never pounded on your door.
I mean, he didn't, but it's probably because he knew I wouldn't answer. I had the locks changed after he left because he wouldn't give me his key back, and I was terrified he was going to do something to us.
Well,
But I guess it didn't help.
he never yelled out to you to come outside.
No, but his texts were scary enough, so.
He Well, he actually never texted you again, threatening you to come outside, did he?
No, he didn't, but he did keep calling me, so.
In fact, throughout the course of your relationship, you can't name one instance when Josh was violent towards you.
He wasn't violent towards me, but I did hear him being pretty loud with his ex-girlfriend when they were next door neighbors. They would get into some really loud fights.
Now, after Josh had come to visit your home on Sunday, you felt safe enough to go to sleep at about 9:30.
I mean, that was my only option.
So you fell asleep at 9:30,
I guess so, about that time.
but something woke you up in the middle of the night.
Yes.
It was a crash that woke you up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all you saw was a Coca-Cola bottle come through a window.
Yes.
You didn't see the person who threw that bottle.
Well, I mean, a bottle coming through your window in the middle of the night is pretty distracting.
But you didn't see a person throw that bottle.
No, I didn't.
You didn't hear a person throw that bottle.
No, I didn't hear anything.
You didn't, the last time you saw Josh was at 8 o'clock when he came to pick up his belongings.
Yes, but that wasn't the last phone call or text message I got from him. He was annoying me all night long.
But the last time you physically saw Josh was at 8 p.m. when he came to pick up his belongings.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
And he was there to play with his dog also,
I'm sure.
because he loved his dog.
I mean, he loved his dog enough to leave it tied up in his ex-girlfriend's backyard, so I don't even know if that really is love.
That's right, the dog was tied up just mere inches away from the burning fire, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, Josh tied him there, and I guess he didn't really care about him very much.
So no one untied him before the fire.
I mean, Josh didn't even care enough about his dog to bring him to his house.
So isn't it true that Josh isn't able to bring his dog to the house?
Yeah, but if I had a dog that I loved, I'd make sure I got an apartment where I could have him, you know?
Well, Megan, isn't it true that you actually found this apartment for Josh?
I tried to help him out initially. I felt bad for him, but that was before he started scaring me all the time.
So that's a yes to my question. You actually found Josh this apartment.
I helped him find it.
And you actually agreed to keep the dog because he couldn't have it at his apartment.
I did.
So, nothing further, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Briefly, Your Honor. Megan, who did you argue with that day?
I argued with Josh Wallace all day. Well, he argued with me, honestly.
Who was constantly texting you that day?
It was Josh Wallace, the defendant.
Who asked for their documents out of your home the night of the fire?
It was Josh.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Witness may step down.